The Big Finish world of audio dramas is rather large, and one of their most popular ranges is probably the Doctor Who monthly range, or just Doctor Who in general. So here I've comprised a list of my favourite top 5 Doctor Who Big Finish stories. Here we go. Before I forget, this video also is going to contain spoilers for the following stories, so you have been warned. Number 5, the Genocide Machine. The main draw for this story is the Daleks make their first appearance inside the Big Finish universe, and writer Mike Tucker betrays them some of their most devious. This makes for a more interesting story for the listener, as in my opinion this is when the Daleks are at their best and most dangerous. Set on a jungle planet, commonly used in Doctor Who stories, of Karsharak, the Daleks, though heard by the listener at the beginning, doesn't interact with the other characters until later on in the story, which builds up the moment when they come face to face with the Doctor. The Doctor and Ace planning to return some books to the Library of Karsharak are of course completely oblivious to the Dalek presence. However, the Daleks learn of the Doctor's arrival as soon as the TARDIS lands.
Oh no.
Oh, stop moaning and stand under the umbrella.
Great waterfall, Professor. But this doesn't look much like a library.
As I said, they've never exactly advertised their presence. Karsharat is way off the normal space lanes. A regular backwater. Very close to the edge of the galaxy, in fact.
Which galaxy?
This one.
So where is the library?
At the top of the waterfall.
Oh, brilliant.
Go on.
Sensors detecting alien sound waves. Sound profile analyzing. Matching to data files.
So Esther McCoy and Sophie Aldred are great as the Doctor and Ace as always. Sophie Aldred especially, as she gives slightly different performances to help the listener distinguish between normal Ace and Dalek operative Ace. With that in mind, the supporting cast play great roles in supporting the pair throughout the story, particularly the character of Bev Tarrant, who's unfortunate enough to get mixed up in this Dalek skirmish, as her and Ace form a great relationship and the pair end up getting captured by the Daleks anyway. The Doctor and Chief Librarian Engin get some good moments as well, as they try to stop the Daleks from accessing the Wetworks facility to gain the knowledge that's inside.
Oh, now come along, Doctor. You are being needlessly melodramatic. Why, even Prink never gets as excitable as you are getting. It has been years since the Daleks were here. Surely you don't think that they would still be out there, lurking in the undergrowth?
Mr. Elgin, the Daleks are devious, are ruthless, and it is more than likely that they are lurking in the undergrowth.
Where are you going?
Come along, Mr. Elgin. I want to take some readings and see if I can find Ace.
Oh, very well, very well. If it will ease your anxieties. Oh, do slow down, Doctor. I'm not nearly as fit as I once was.
The Dalek-controlled duplicates make a return from Resurrection of the Daleks, as well as a variant of the Special Weapons Dalek from Remembrance of the Daleks. These are nice nods to the show's past, as well as being essential to the Daleks' plan to infiltrate the Karsharak facility. This sense of deviousness on the Daleks' part is very refreshing to hear, and makes the Doctor more concerned, which makes the Daleks' threat easier to digest, especially as their target is to gain all the knowledge of the Karsharak facility to make them an even more of a dangerous threat.
Phase 1 is now complete. The Doctor's companion is now aboard.
Is she to be exterminated?
No, her brain patterns may be necessary for the duplicate to remain undetected. Capture of Karsharak facility is of primary importance. Dalek assault teams are assembled. All battle commanders must ensure that the storage facility remains undamaged. Test subjects will be linked to the data store as soon as we achieve control. The Daleks will achieve total knowledge.
The Daleks and library staff aren't the only life forms on the planet. The Doctor uncovers the original inhabitants have been heard throughout the story from the off, and the characters have heard strange voices from the water, the phantoms of Karsharak. This is another side of the plot that threads throughout the story and creates a feeling of danger in the jungle, and after the Daleks have invaded the Karsharak facility, this creates a sense of where nowhere is safe for the characters, ramping up the tension for the listener.
Is it the Dalek? The Dalek from the ziggurat?
Oh no, I don't think so. Helgen, those legends about the Karsharat phantoms.
Doctor, if you're trying to scare me...
Quiet. I want to listen.
Oh, there it is again. Come on, Doctor. I'm quite rested enough now. I think we should move.
Fascinating. There's something else on this planet. Something alive out here in the jungles with us.
Please, Doctor, come on, let's go.
One moment, Helgen. If there is something out there, then I would rather like to find out what.
Doctor, what is it? What's happening?
Overall, this is a great start to the Daleks in audio form, and the Genocide Machine would be one of 4 parts of a Dalek Empire series inside the Doctor Who monthly range. The 4 stories would be loosely linked, so it's not necessary to listen to them all to get the full enjoyment out of this one. The Daleks, performed by Nicholas Briggs and Alistair Locke, create a very strong and opposing feel in every scene. Sounding slightly deeper for when Nick Briggs would portray the Daleks on TV and later Big Finish stories, they really feel like a more hostile and dangerous presence, making the Genocide Machine a very easy story for the listener to get lost in. Number 4. Horror of Glam Rock. A base under siege set in the 1970s and a motorway services somewhere on the M62, Horror of Glam Rock is a perfect blend of classic and new series Who. This witty and humorous story manages to create a whole adventure with excellent pacing, humour, entertainment and a great send-off in the running time of 60 minutes. It also tackles some darker material such as glam rockers getting eaten in the car park, which creates higher stakes and a sense of danger for the characters, which contrasts nicely with some of their lighter and humorous lines.
Oh, yeah, I heard you the first time. You monster, you. Oh, cripes.
Paul McGann and Sheridan Smith as an excellent dynamics Doctor and companion Lucy Miller. McGann's 8th Doctor, who carries traits of a classic Doctor, is great to see and contrasts very nicely with Smith's performance as a more new series companion. It's great to see this new format with a Doctor that from up till this point had a slot in the Doctor Who monthly range along with the 5th, 6th and 7th incarnations, as it sort of bridges the gap, brings both old and new iterations of the show together and makes it feel like one big story from Hartnell all the way to the current Doctor Jodie Whittaker. The Doctor and Lucy's relationship is probably one of Big Finish's strongest and it's a highlight of the whole 8th Doctor new adventures.
Hard shoulder. Good job the roads aren't that busy.
Yeah, you'd be mad to go out in this.
I've never seen snow like it. Well, now I have. Can we go?
Look there.
Kathy?
Proper old-style motorway services. Oh, you're gonna love this, Lucy.
Old style? Doctor, what year is this?
It's 1974. I bet they'll have those ketchup things in the shape of tomatoes.
Before I was born. Always looks a bit rubbish on the telly. Tacky. Why 1974?
I was trying for your time. This is as close as I could get, as close as I'm allowed to get.
Well, this is the Dark Ages, Doctor. It's nowhere near where I come from. I bet it's down south, too.
You humans can be so parochial.
The supporting cast is very memorable in the story, from Flo, Arnold, who's played by much beloved Bernard Cribbins, to the Tomorrow Twins and Auntie Pat. This small ensemble, including the Doctor and Lucy, is very enjoyable to hear, as the motorway services gets attacked from the beast outside, as each character has the room to react in their own way, which makes the story more engaging for the listener. Very unlike Wilfred Mott, Bernard Cribbins' character Arnold has a rather different relationship with the rest of the characters, due to him being a rather greedy and cowardly stage manager who looks out for himself. This creates some great moments of tension between the characters, especially between him and the Doctor, as it's very enjoyable for the listener to hear when they're trying to work together and stay alive.
You've not left her out there.
Oh, Pat, it was too late. Didn't you see?
Doctor, you know, are you all right?
Yes. See to Tommy. He's withdrawn into himself. You stupid man. She's dead now and it's your fault. I almost left you out there by yourself to face those things alone.
I was only thinking of them, Tommy and Trish. They said they wanted stardom.
The aliens in this story, the only ones, are an interesting concept and work brilliantly in audio, as they're mainly little voices heard when a certain tune is played on one of the characters' Tommy's stylophone. The reason for them coming to Earth is cleverly linked to the premise of the whole story, and the way they manipulate Tommy into thinking the only ones are the only aliens in the universe, plus all the deaths they've caused prove to the Doctor and the listener these aliens have little regard for human life and therefore must be stopped. Also, the way the Doctor stops the only ones at the end of this story is quite resourceful, and it's fun to hear as well.
Welcome. Oh, welcome to my world.
They're beautiful.
They look pretty average to me.
Well, I think they look like proper aliens. Look at the pictures.
Precisely. Wraith-like beauties, androgynous super beings. Just what you want in your alien visitors.
Oh, it's you, Doctor. Hello.
Know me, do you?
Only by repute.
They told Tommy that they were the only aliens in the galaxy, that we were alone apart from them.
Piffle.
Don't mock them, Doctor. The only ones come in peace. They bring love to planet Earth.
Ask them what makes it worthwhile, coming to a place like this and befriending the natives.
Stop it, Doctor. You're spoiling it.
They want something from you, Tommy.
They are my friends. They've come to take me away and show me the cosmos.
I don't think that they are that benign.
Overall, this is a really fun and quick-paced story on its own, as well as setting up future stories in the series, such as the introduction of a 1974 version of Lucy's Auntie Pat, and the continuation of the arc with the appearance of the Headhunter. However, these are just fun nods to future stories and have no impact on this adventure at all. With great characters, comedic moments and quite a dark chain of events in it being a base under siege story, Horror of Glam Rock is a great adventure to get lost in for 60 minutes. Plus the song Children of Tomorrow does get stuck in your head after hearing it throughout the story, and then the whole song at the end. Number 3. Sword of Orion. Being the first time the Cybermen appear inside the Big Finish universe, this story written, directed by Nicholas Briggs is a brilliant first attempt. Sword of Orion proves to listeners how well and creepy the Cybermen work in audio, which is enhanced by the story's setting, an abandoned space freighter in the far future. The sound design is used very effectively and allows listeners to paint a clear image in their minds, which makes the story very engaging. Plus the characters of Finnis and Digley's performance really sell the scene, especially on the abandoned space freighter, and makes the Cybermen feel very threatening and quite scary.
What was that? Oh, we disturbed the air a bit. Probably a door banging shut.
Oh, yeah. Look, I don't like this thing,
Just because it's a bit dark? Don't worry. I'll get the lights working for you before we start tearing this place apart. Come on.
Oh, no.
Paul McGann and India Fisher are great within this story. They do occasionally suffer from clunky dialogue, however this is due to Sword of Orion being one of Big Finish's earlier stories, but doesn't subtract from their performance or the story in any way. The way the 8th Doctor and Charlie are brought into this story is slightly different compared to other stories, as the pair are forced to stow away aboard the scrap ship the Vanguard after the TARDIS is mistaken for cargo at Garry's Central. This also allows for good world building at the beginning, as we're first introduced to a few of the supporting cast for the adventure, and makes their characters and the world around them feel more real and makes the stakes higher later on for the listener.
Hello, doing a spot of moonlighting, are we?
What do you mean?
My friend and I parked our ship at the space dock. I'm sure I saw you leaving the main gate earlier on.
No, it weren't me.
Oh, I know you've been careful enough to unclip your insignia, but the shirt is standard issue. Nobody else makes them quite like the Merchant Space Corps, do they?
Yeah, well, look, I'm about to shut up shop, so if you don't mind...
Ship leaving today, is it? The Corps take a dim view of moonlighting, I expect. Don't worry, your secret's safe with us.
What do you want?
Just to browse.
Who sent you?
Can't say, sorry.
Can't say what?
Neither can she, can you?
No, definitely not.
Once the adventure gets underway, the listeners are introduced to the rest of the supporting cast, which is quite small compared to other stories. This works in its favour, as the Vanguard crew are allowed more space to develop as characters and are all different enough to create a great dynamic. Captain Diva Jansen and Ike are standouts, as they have conflict between the characters, especially when the Doctor and Charlie come on the scene, which adds to the story, plus it's another obstacle to overcome when the characters have to fight off the Cybermen.
Is there some way of accessing the power systems from here?
There are maintenance hatches all over the ship.
Can you show me the nearest one?
What are you doing, Captain?
Can't be responsible for this, can I? Even if you do think Charlie and I are capable of suddenly transmogrifying into superhuman psychopaths, I don't see how you can possibly deduce that we're causing this power disruption.
It's this way, Doctor.
All right, move.
The musical score for this story is incredible, and fits the Cybermen really well by adding a dark, cold and creepy feel when it's implemented. The fact the Cybermen don't appear properly apart from a crazed Cyberman at the beginning and the end of part 1 really adds to the threat level, and is very impressive when they eventually come out in force. The fact that Dr. Charlie and the Vanguard crew are trapped either on the space freighter or Vanguard makes the whole story feel very claustrophobic, as the threat level of the Cybermen that's been building throughout is finally released, and the characters now have nowhere to run. Plus hearing the 8th Doctor and the Cybermen is great.
This way, Doctor.
What's that noise?
I'm reading an energy discharge about 5 meters ahead.
Turn that off. Let's take a look.
my revival been delayed?
The Sword of Orion is a great second outing for McGann's Doctor and Charlie, and is a lesson on how the Cybermen should be handled. The dark and gritty nature of this story is a welcome change of pace in my eyes and fits Doctor Who really well, especially on audio. On that note, it's hard to say if this story would work quite as well as a visual medium, or if the atmosphere and grad nature placed on the listeners' minds only work this brilliantly on audio format. This story also is followed on by a future Doctor Who monthly range release Kingdom of Silver and the Cybermen series, which explores more of the Orion War as heard in this audio adventure. Number 2. The Chimes of Midnight. Written by Robert Shearman, this dark murder mystery sees the Doctor and Charlie placed in an abandoned Edwardian house. This creepy setting really allows the listener to paint a clear picture in their minds as the pair are shut out of the events of the story, creating a very intriguing start, as we switch from the working class staff of the house who are preparing for Christmas Day, to the abandoned household the Doctor and Charlie are trapped in. These two contrasts of the same setting is very effective, which makes the characters and the listener suspect this isn't your average whodunit scenario. And this is really sold by McGann and Fisher's performance.
This must be where the servants relax. Look, they've even got a little Christmas tree.
The fire's burning in the grate, but there's still no one here.
But Doctor, it isn't burning. Look at the flames, they're not moving.
I don't like this, Charlie, not one bit.
Could we be somewhere, I don't know, which is just frozen, where nothing is moving?
Pull a cracker with me.
Do you think we should? It's not really ours to pull, is it?
As an experiment. 1,
2, 3.
I win. No, wait. Well, there's a novelty. Reusable crackers.
What's going on, Doctor? It's as if we're not being allowed to make any impression here.
Yes, that's right. Time itself not letting us in. There's only one problem with that theory.
Which is?
Well, it's not possible. Time doesn't work like that. At least not without some direct intervention.
You mean whatever is happening here is happening deliberately?
I just don't know.
Which means that whoever is doing this could be watching us at this very moment.
Once the Doctor and Charlie are allowed to enter the events of the story, they are immediately thrown into a murder mystery, as each member of the household staff are brutally killed on the hour up till midnight. At the Chimes of Midnight, the whole house resets, and the murders start all over again, always starting with Edith Thompson, the scullery maid, proving to the listener she should be the key to stopping the events of the story, as well as throwing the already complicated plot on its head. The Doctor, very much like the listener, still don't have all the pieces of the puzzle to figure out what is going on, which is enjoyable to hear. Plus, each member of the household dying in a way that relates to their job leaves a humorous undertone to this dark concept.
Doctor, look! It's Edith!
I'm afraid she's dead, Charlie.
But she already was dead.
Well, now she's dead again.
But she was drowned in the sink, and here she's...
lying on the floor, suffocated by a sink plunger. It is bizarre, to say the least.
What's happening in here?
There was a scream!
I'm afraid your scullery maid is dead.
Oh, no!
Mary, it's all right.
Oh, my goodness, that such a thing could happen in my kitchens.
And she's alive again, too. What's going on?
What do you mean, my poppet?
Shh, Charlie, not now.
Frederick, assist the gentleman in removing the sink plunger from Edith's face.
Yes, Mr. Shaughnessy.
Supporting cast in this story are excellent. Each staff member of the household convey a very hospitable and warm nature towards the Doctor and Charlie, which suddenly changes to aggression as soon as the pair decide to break the rules set by the master of the house, Edward Grove. They however still manage to convey this threatening behaviour in a hospitable way, which adds to the creepy factor of the setting and story.
Can you hear me? I know you can. I'm going to go upstairs now. If you want to stop me, you're going to have to show yourself. Right. There, that's the first step. There are only another 8, 9 to go, and I know you want to stop me, don't you? That's step 4. I'd hurry up if I were you. I could be upstairs and through the door in a matter of seconds. And then where would you be, Where would I be, for that matter? Oh, for heaven's sake.
Not go upstairs, Doctor. It is not allowed.
Ah, there you are, Shaughnessy. With your gun, I see. You took your time.
My apologies, sir. I am not as young as I used to be.
No, well, who is?
You will come back down the steps, Doctor, or I will be forced to shoot you.
Oh, certainly, certainly.
The story also focuses very heavily on Charlie and her relationship with Edith, which turns into one of the most important plot points of the story, as Charlie discovers it's not who killed Edith which is important, but the fact why Edith had to die in very creepy premonitions. This new angle is a big clue to the listener, and at this point starts to understand the bigger picture involving Charlie. This brings this plot heavy story back to quite an intimate one, as the Doctor and Charlie are more involved in the events than the listener first realises. Not to mention the confrontation between the Doctor and the final appearance as the Force posing with Edward Grove is very satisfying to hear. Plus the revelations revealed don't only put everything into place with this story, but links back to the Doctor and Charlie's first meeting in Storm Warning.
I have tasted life, Doctor. How can I let go of it now?
You exist only as a spark, Edward, only as the very germ of life for a few seconds. Can you honestly say that those scant moments are worth all the years that this household would enjoy?
I was trying to extend those seconds of influence, Doctor, to learn in time how I could exist for the entire 2 hours. I see that I was wrong.
That's good.
You have shown me that instead, I could simply loop those few seconds back on themselves. As the chimes stop ringing, they will start again, forever and ever.
No, that wasn't what I meant at all.
I would crush the whole of my existence into one single eternal moment. If in that moment I can truly say I'm alive.
And crush out the lives of everyone here in the process.
Nonsense. I shall make them immortal!
I can't let you do that.
You haven't got the power to stop me, Doctor.
If I can just stop Edith killing herself.
You cannot reach her. She is where the dead go before the loop begins again.
With links to the past and future stories involving the 8th Doctor and Charlie, this really is a great world building story in strengthening the pair's relationship, as well as being a thrilling standalone epic from start to finish. The cast perform their roles perfectly, and with the creepy and brilliant sound design, it's very easy for the listener to get lost in the story. Robert Schumann's writing really allows the listener to find out plot threads at the same time as the Doctor and Charlie, making them feel like part of the story in some respects, which really allows for an engaging listen. Therefore, I always return to the Chimes of Midnight, and why it's one of my favourite Doctor Who Big Finish stories, and why it's on this list. Honourable mentions. Before we get started with number 1, this is a short list of 10 other stories which I enjoy that couldn't make it onto this list. Number 1. Legend of the Cybermen. Returning to the land of fiction from the story The Mind Robber, Legend of the Cybermen captures the fictional world in its entirety and expands upon its concept. In audio form, this works excellently and really captures the listener's imagination due to there being no limitations of visuals. Hearing Colin Baker's 6th Doctor explore this world is great. He is of course joined by Fraser Hines as Jamie McCrimmon in this story, which follows on from the previous 2 adventures. Once again, hearing Colin Baker and Fraser Hines together is brilliant. Being very unlike the dynamic between the 2nd Doctor and Jamie, they still managed to pull off a very similar relationship of a double act.
Come on, stop joshing. We must be somewhere.
Somewhere, nowhere, everywhere. The normal rules of space and time don't apply in this place. I came here once before with Zoe and you.
With me? Sorry, Doctor, but you must be mistaken. I think I remember coming here. It's not exactly a sight you'd see every day, now is it? A great big blank, a white mist. It's more like something out of a book.
Not to mention, also returning in the story is Wendy Padbury as Zoe Herriot. Hearing Zoe in the 6th Doctor is an interesting experience, and of course hearing her with Jamie feels like they never left the TARDIS. The 3 really work well together and allow the listener to believe Colin Baker's Doctor is really the same man Jamie and Zoe travelled with in the past. This story also addresses the fact that Jamie and Zoe have forgotten the Doctor due to the mental block placed on their minds by the Time Lords in the second Doctor's final story, the War Games. This makes it very rewarding for the listener when the two start to remember their past adventures, fully bringing their characters back to life.
Oh,
Jamie, are you all right?
Monsters. There were monsters everywhere we went.
I know, I remember. Daleks and Ice Warriors and Quarks.
Quarks, aye. But it wasn't all bad. I had friends. Sailor Ben, Beanpole Polly, his Duchess, Victoria, precious like China. And then there was...
Yes?
Then there was Zoe. Clever little Zoe. Just the same as you always were.
Oh, Jamie.
What the Doctor said, it was true. All of it. I've seen such wonders.
The supporting cast such as the Artful Dodger, Alice from Alice in Wonderland and Dracula play great roles as well as really help keep the story afloat by guiding the Doctor and team through the land of fiction and fighting the enemy of the story, the Cybermen. The concept of the Cybermen, who rely on logic, invading the land of fiction is very entertaining as they begin to change fiction in a way where imagination would be destroyed. Not to mention the cyber conversion of many fictional beings such as giants, mermaids and fairies, and hearing them in action as the Cybermen overrun many fictional strongholds puts a great new spin on cyber conversion.
That thunder's getting closer.
It's not thunder, Jamie. Look, through the mist.
What on earth?
As I said, we lost our giants, Doctor.
Oh my goodness.
Giant Cybermen!
The Cybermen took them one by one, replaced their arms with scaffolding, their feet with tank tracks.
Returning characters also appear such as Captain Nemo from the previous story Wreck of the Titan and Rob Roy McGregor from the City of Spires, which links the previous two stories together and reveal the Doctor had been in the land of fiction this whole time. This gets explained further as the reveal of the mistress of the land of fiction proves to be an older version of Zoe, who has created a fictional version of Jamie and herself to assist the Doctor in fighting the Cybermen.
You're me?
Well, would you care to explain what's really going on, mistress?
None of this is real. This is all a wonderful children's adventure, which adults adore.
Seems real enough to me.
Oh, but it would, Doctor. Look at your journey here. Pseudo-historical to base under siege, right at home.
You're viewing this from some other level of consciousness, aren't you?
It alters you, this place. You experience things differently.
Legend of the Cybermen proves to be a great conclusion that rounds off the three stories, but is also an enjoyable experience for listeners on its own. Relying on certain elements from Doctor Who lore, this story is more enjoyable after seeing the Mind Robber and knowing what happens to Jamie and Zoe after they leave the Doctor in the War Games, so that gives it some limitations. However, being familiar with these stories will enhance the listener's enjoyment, and combining the Cybermen to the mix is a perfect match of two opposites, with fiction and imagination on one side and cold logic on the other. So that was my top 5 Doctor Who Big Finish stories. I hope you enjoyed this list, and if you have your own favourite stories, then I encourage you to go and make your own video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you very soon. Goodbye.